Hey everyone, this is Josh back with Cardboard Chronicles, and this week we're going to do another preview for the National, this time for the 2021 National. We haven't had a National in a couple years, so thought it'd be good to do this one again, and I brought back the same guest as last time. Justin, how's it going, man?
Josh, can't believe we're finally doing it. We got interrupted last year. Uh, we're back. Let's do
Yeah,
it again.
the once a year I feel like is the perfect amount for just like how
Yeah,
much chaos it is, but 2 years is like I feel like we've never even had one before. This is too
I
long.
know we were going through our notes, and we'll try and keep this under 4 hours. But again, it thought it'd be a good idea to kind of refresh everybody on National 101 stuff. There's certainly been new things that have happened over the past 24 months since we've done one of these. So it'll be some old, some new, but again, this is no matter how many times you've been in the National, it's always good to kind of reset and prepare yourself for that 5 or 6 day stretch because it's always something.
Yeah. Yeah, so throw this on the podcast form and just listen to this whenever you got a couple hours to spare. Why don't you start us off? Just jump into like the history of the National, kind of what it is for anyone that's not sure.
Yeah. So this will be this is the 40th. I think this is the 40th anniversary since last year was canceled. But the first one was in 1980 in LA. It has bounced at different locations across the country: LA, Dallas, Baltimore, Cleveland. I think there was an Atlanta one thrown in there at some point. For probably the past 20 years or so, it's 15, 20 years, it's rotated between three or four of the same locations. So those being Chicago. It was in Cleveland at the IX Center, but rest in peace, IX Center. Cleveland, unfortunately, they went out of business, so that venue is no longer. And then in its stead, we have replaced it with Atlantic City, which we'll get into Atlantic City in 2022. But basically, the whole reason that the locations have kind of stayed the same, the Chicago and Cleveland locations are fairly central to both coasts, is because there's a few things. There's quite a few older collectors, shall we say, who are concentrated on the East Coast, and anything beyond the Mississippi is not something that they're willing to do. So kind of that the older generation, that tenure still rules the day in terms of where the locations are, and why we haven't bounced back out to Anaheim. I think Anaheim was 2000, late 2000s at some point. I want to say 08, 07 maybe, but Anaheim or Vegas or anything like that. So the first reason just being that a lot of the old guys have the tenure and their vote matters more than the young kids. So that's why we stay more east than west. But then Chicago and Cleveland as well, but especially Chicago. I mean, O'Hare Airport, you're going to be able to see the convention center from O'Hare when you fly in. So O'Hare's the biggest airport in the world. You can get to O'Hare International on no more than probably 2 flights from just about anywhere in the world. So it's just the simplicity of being able to fly in there, hop on a hotel shuttle, hop on an Uber. There's probably a dozen or so hotels just within that 1,500-yard radius of the airport. There's restaurants, there's bars, there's all that good stuff. So we'll get into a little bit kind of the pros and cons of the venue itself once we're inside. But in terms of accessibility for being able to get to the National, like Chicago's the best. It's just the easiest for both coasts. It's the easiest for international travelers, which is why I'm always a big fan of Chicago. It's just super easy for everybody to get to, and selfishly, Chicago usually skews more basketball than maybe some
Yeah.
of the other locations.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of people, myself included, have been complaining about wanting it on the West Coast and then Cleveland having it there, but you're right, Chicago just works for the most people and it makes the most sense. All right, let's get to the actual schedule and the logistics. So the main thing is to go to nsccshow.com. That'll be the easiest place to start. Check out their site. All the details are there. Why don't you walk us through just sort of the high level like days and times and stuff?
Yep, you got it. So as you mentioned, it's nfccshow.com. I dumped all over the website 2 years ago because it was still it was still pretty crappy. It wasn't great. They have done a lot of work to revamp it, to streamline things. So it's much easier now to find information than it was a couple years ago. So obviously, hats off for that. There's a few different things I'll point people to. The first is obviously the show hours. And I'll just walk through the whole week. Again, this doesn't apply to everybody, but on Tuesday, so Tuesday is early dealer setup. It's an additional fee for dealers to be able to come in early and get into the showroom floor on Tuesday. But from 8 to 4:30, that's officially when the show starts for dealers. I think some of the corporate sponsors can get in on Monday, but it doesn't matter for us. So Tuesday for about 10 hours, there's dealer setup. We'll get into again a little bit later about some of the things that often happen during dealer setup and why general attendees might want to recalibrate their expectations when it comes to things like grading. But the show opens from 8 to 4:30 on Tuesday for dealers. On Wednesday, the show hours are, let's see, 4 to 8. Thursday, Friday, Saturday show hours are 10 to 6. And then Sunday show hours are 10 to 5. And the important point there is that, so when you go to the website, you'll see options for different ticket packages. So there's a general admission that you can buy in advance or day of. I think they usually, if you buy it in advance, you get like a 10% discount regardless of the ticket tier. So it's a little bit cheaper to buy in advance than the day of. But there's general admission, and then there's multiple different VIP levels. And all those different VIP levels they get you different things. You know, there's the first level of VIP gets you some autograph tickets. It gets you maybe just some other goodie bags. I think the super VIP gets you a parking pass along with some more of the VIP like autograph tickets, and then the higher level VIP tiers. I honestly I just didn't even look at those because the main thing that you get with VIP with the extra charge is you get access to the showroom floor at 9:30 on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and at 3:30 on Wednesday. And this is pretty important because that extra 30 minutes allows you to get in before just the complete mad rush of all the general admission. You will still wait in a line to get in, but I can assure you that line it's much shorter, and it's much better, I think, just for your general sanity of being ready to get on the floor and start looking around and enjoying yourself, to be able to have that additional 30 minutes under your belt to kind of start to spread out, catch your breath, get a feel for the showroom floor, maybe start to get a sense of, this is how the rows work. This is how the, up and down, left to right. You might have some booths that you want to look at specifically, so you can just start to make some laps and figure that stuff out. But again, that 30 minutes really allows you just additional time to be able to understand what the show is, what it looks like, where things are. Because again, we've seen it before every single year, where as soon as they open the doors, there's literally people running across the exhibition floor to do whatever it is that they feel they need to run to. So it turns into madness pretty quickly. So just to be able to have that 30-minute head start, I think is very, very important. And then just from a logistical perspective, in terms of what else is around there, kind of like what I mentioned, there's tons of hotels, tons of restaurants, bars. There's a casino. We'll get into that a little bit more later, but most of it is within walking distance or no more than like a 5-minute Uber ride. So again, you're gonna go to a spot, and for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 days, you're gonna pretty much stay in that spot the entire time.
You know how when you get early entrance to like Disneyland, the first thing you do is go straight to the big ride. You go
Yep.
straight to the long line. So a lot of people are probably thinking the 30 minutes is just get in line for grading, and we'll talk about that more later. But the 30 minutes early head start on grading is definitely a huge advantage. All right. So the interesting thing about this show, the most interesting thing to me, is that we have this 2-year gap, and in between that 2-year gap, the hobby has basically exploded like it never has before. So this is going to be the first national for a lot of people. Um, and people have been exposed to these different smaller shows kind of leading up to it. Maybe give people an expectational difference between what they've been experiencing to this.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think it's first of all, I think the additional show exposure is great because you can help me out on this on timetables. But when was the first Dallas show? Like September,
Yeah,
maybe, and that was kind
October
of the
something.
first one that, excuse me, that got people back into attending live shows. And then there was obviously there was Dallas, there was Grant's Wisconsin Dells show, the Miami show, some of oh, I can't remember names now. This is terrible, but like some shows up in the Northeast, things like that. So there've actually been, I would say, 12 to 18 good sized shows that have taken place that people are traveling to and have been very well received. I guess the difference between those shows and the national is just the scope. Again, I went through and tried to put some rough numbers together, but the national is, it's 400 to 500 dealers, just depending on how many people are actually at the single booth. The number of booths is 600 to 700.
Mhm.
Um, those booths also include the huge corporate booths. So, like in the middle, you're going to see the way that the Rosemont showroom floor is kind of the orientation is that you'll walk in and you'll see a bunch of dealer, like common man dealer booths, for lack of a better way to put it. And then in the middle, you'll see Panini, you'll see Upper Deck, you'll see Tops, you'll see Heritage, you'll see Golden. So it's not only larger in scope from a dealer and a dealer table perspective or a booth perspective, but it's also got that corporate element as well. So again, while I know I've heard a lot of people say to varying degrees that like the national isn't necessarily as important this year as it has been in years past because there has been more show accessibility and options for people to buy, sell, and trade. And that fair point. It's not wrong, but at the same time, it's the Super Bowl. Like we said this in 2019, and it's going to hold true every single year. It's like this is the show you go to. This is the show that everybody brings their absolute best stuff. If you're looking for something super specific, if you're looking for generalities, this is probably your best chance to find it. It doesn't matter whether you're on a dollar box dive budget, if you're on a super high end budget, everything in between. The national is the one time a year that everybody will bring their best and their brightest, and they will put it out. They will have it in a backpack, and they will be either ready to share it with friends, to try and sell it, to try and trade it, or whatever they want to do with it. So the importance of the other shows that have popped up over the past 8 months is not lost on me in the slightest. And I think it's actually great that people will have more large scale show experience heading into the national. It won't be as overwhelming. But I don't care how many shows you've been to, how many nationals, how many Dallas shows or regional shows or whatever. This will be my ninth time setting up, and like I'm always intimidated. Like for the first 10 to 15 minutes I get on the floor, like seriously, it doesn't matter. Every single day, it's like, wow, this is this is big. You've got your 1 week a year to try and do what you want to do, and there's so much to do from both a show and a non-show perspective. So there's nothing else like the national. Like God love everybody who's worked their asses off on the different regional shows, but the national, it's there's a reason it's one time a year.
Yeah, I was at the Dallas show last month, and there was a couple corporate booths, but it was nothing like what you're describing at the national, where like they basically take the whole center. It's just like this huge red carpeted area with just massive displays and like walking areas basically. And the overall show floor is 3 to 4 times the size of Dallas, so it's huge.
Mhm.
Um,
It's
talk ab-
it's 3 to 4, yeah, it's 3 to 4 times the size of Dallas, and it will still be as packed as
yes,
all of these other shows. Again, that
yeah. So
not jumping the gun too much, but like it will be wall to wall people.
that's the next point. That was, dude. Dallas was like, you're definitely brushing shoulders. There's tons and tons of people. The foot traffic is insane. The aisles were fairly thin, and so when I say like Rosemont is physically bigger, it's the ratio is going to be about the same though. It's going to be very busy in the halls. That was one thing we liked about Cleveland, was that it was just a huge, massive hangar with like tons of space. This is not going to be the case in Rosemont. It is pretty tight. Do you have anything else to add about that?
Um, no, not necessarily. I mean, the main thing with Rosemont, like you said, is that there's just not, at least on the showroom floor, there's nowhere to spread out. Like you have a very fixed area of space, and that's about as far as you can go. I'm not entirely sure if they will be setting up just kind of some more lobby type seating, or maybe just, I don't want to call them relaxation areas, but just basically areas to get away from the showroom floor madness, like outside in the lobby, or there's some offshoot halls just to, I think, the left of the entrance doors when you come in. So I could see them setting up maybe some more options for seating and be able to get some personal space and things like that. But I guess the main thing on this before we move on is that for a lot of people, this is going to be their first time back out at an event that has a lot of people at it post-COVID. So whether you've been to shows before, you've been out in public before, since this is all finally, started to break, or if this is your first time, like you're going to be shoulder to shoulder, like you're going to be sliding by people, you're going to be brushing up against people, and I think for a lot of people it's going to be kind of nerve-wracking. So I would just say, keep that in mind, kind of prepare yourself. If you still want to wear a mask, please do it. It's no issue whatsoever. If that helps you be more comfortable in a very crowded space, who cares? Go for it. So I think that's just kind of the main thing, is that Rosemont is a very, much more fixed space than Cleveland. And you are going to be rubbing up against people for as long as you're there. There are ways to escape it and get a breather, but it's just something that you need to be ready for, especially like if you haven't been out yet at a public event or in a public place that has a lot of people, or people in a concentrated kind of restricted area.
Yeah. And then my favorite tidbit of advice that I always give, and we have it noted here, is your home base, your safe space. So like when you get there, it is going to be super overwhelming. So if you have something predetermined or planned about where you want to go when you need your space away, whether that's someone's booth that you trust where you can put your backpack down, or going to the lobby, having a meeting place with some friends or whatever, it's super important, because once you're in there, the time just goes by real quick, and there's not much planning happening anymore. The chaos ensues.
Yeah, once you're, it's no different than a casino. I mean, once you're in, you're in. I always joke with people. It's like I don't really eat much at all during the course of the show. It's like, do you want to go outside and grab lunch, or just like the physical act of going out to get lunch takes time, or like, you can get Uber Eats to the show, but it's like you got to go outside and you got to pick it up and you got to order it. And it's like, as dumb as that sounds, you just get so sucked into the event, the atmosphere, for any number of different reasons, that, like you said, it's just time basically just collapses on itself. And then before you know it, it's like you're getting the 15-minute announcement at the end of the day that the show's about to close. And it's like, oh God, but all I've eaten there is like some almonds and a banana. So.
And then, because of all the people, this is just the PSA. Please shower. Please wear your deodorant. You didn't write deodorant, but I'm saying deodorant. Brush your teeth.
That works.
And wear socks, for God's sakes. No sandals. And
we say this every year. We joke about it every year. And I've had people be like, why did you say that? And it's like, I've never experienced that. Well, good for you, because when you do experience it, you're like, sweet Jesus. This is the grossest thing ever. And it's a bummer that we need to reinforce kind of like the bottom rung of personal hygiene. But it just, when you're around people, just try and be a person. A clean, bathed, showered, brushed person.
And if I see someone with sandals and no socks, I'm going to look at you and be like, that dude doesn't have any socks on right now. So don't go that way.
Josh will publicly shame you if your hygiene is not up to snuff.
It's not even just for me. Like, you're going to be worn out wearing sandals. Like, if you're walking all day, you need socks and shoes. Get some nice shoes. All right. The biggest question for me every year is, what do I bring? And we'll start with cards. Which cards do you bring? That's a little bit different for you because you're a dealer, but try to put yourself in the average person's mindset. What cards are you bringing?
Yes. So I think the first place to start is, personal collection versus non-personal collection. because the overarching theme that I'm sure we'll talk about multiple times when it comes to the actual cardboard itself is that if you bring cards and people see those cards, people are going to want to buy them or they're going to want to trade for them. So the logical starting point for that is put things into a personal collection versus non-personal collection piles. Try and figure out what that right balance is, because there are going to be opportunities, not necessarily for you to, if you want to bring personal collection stuff, you don't have to show all of that off to every single person that you meet or every single dealer. Whether it's, if you want to put some of those personal collection items that you just want to, you've met some people on Instagram or Facebook and you want to show them off, like a player collection or something like that, put those in a separate box that you never even show that box to dealers. So you're not even tempted to sell them, or you just don't have to deal with the question, how much do you want for this? Because again, every single card that you pull out, at some point, every single dealer, every single person will ask, what, is it available? How much do you want for it? So I think that's kind of the first step, is that if you bring a card, regardless of what box it's in, there is a very real chance that you might not go home with it. So the main thing to keep in mind there is that if these cards are truly personal collection and you're just bringing them to show off and enjoy with friends, then put them somewhere where they will not get crossed up with that inventory, with that trade bait that you are going to be actively shopping on throughout the course of the show. So that would be kind of the first step, is personal collection versus non-personal collection. From there, the next logical step, or kind of thing I would think about, would be only bring as much or as little as you are comfortable bringing. So whether that's your personal risk tolerance for a quantity of cards, a dollar amount of cards, if depending on your method of transportation, if you're driving, you can obviously bring a lot more than you could if you were flying. If you are flying, it's a matter of, how much can I fit in a carry-on duffel bag? If I want to bring more, am I comfortable checking a bag with sports cards in it?
Your insurance.
Your insurance, yep. Do you have insurance on your collection? Like, how does your insurance policy cover you bringing cards to different shows? But again, another thing that we're going to repeat a lot throughout this, however many hours we go, is you have to be comfortable with your show experience. So if you have a personal collection, or your collection is 100 cards and you bring 95 of those just in case, the big deal might come along, you're going to be responsible for those 95 cards for your entire show experience for as long as you're there. So if that dollar amount of cards, or that quantity of cards is too much, if you're sick, if you don't want to lug them around on the showroom floor, it's like, these are all things you have to take into consideration when you're putting things into boxes to bring to the show. So again, spend some time before the show. And when I say before the show, I don't mean like the week of the show. I mean like weeks before you actually leave, and just start trying to organize your collection into some of those different piles and those priorities, and just figure out, what would I be comfortable wheeling around the entire show and having on me the entire time. And when we say comfortable, there's a lot of factors that go into that comfort level. Let's see, lugging everything around. Oh, okay. So for those things that you do want to bring, that you're going to make available, whether it's trade bait, it's personal collection stuff, whatever the case might be, this is the dealer hat, obviously, but please have values on it. Again, I can't tell you how it can get a little annoying when somebody shows you a box of 10 or 20 cards or whatever, when you ask, hey, somebody's like, oh, I like that. Oh, okay, cool. Do you have stuff to trade? Here's a box. Okay, I'll look at this stuff. And you go through the cards and you're like, okay, how about this one? I don't know, man. Okay. How about this one? I'm not sure. How about this one? I don't know. I really like it, but I'm open to offers. It's like, it's just, you wouldn't do that online. You wouldn't conduct business like that online, whether you're in an Instagram chat, a Facebook group, or whatever. So just at least as an initial starting point, and your values are your values, the dealer's values are the dealer values. Like if you want to be really high on something because you need a big number to move it, cool. That's perfectly fine. But just have numbers or values in mind. So when you do kind of start the deal process, that it's not kind of a one-way street of you knowing the other person's numbers, but
Hmm.
being, vague or evasive with what you're looking for on yours because for whatever reason. So that would be one of my dealer items would be that if you're going to bring stuff and make it available to trade or to sell, um, have some sort of asking price on it. And an asking price is fine. It doesn't, you can negotiate, you can haggle, whatever, but just have some sort of price on it, because it really is super annoying when somebody shows you a stack of 10 cards and the response is, I'm taking offers on them. It's like, all right, man. Sounds good. And then on top of that, whatever cards you do decide to bring, both personal collection and trade bait, I am still of the pen and paper camp. I print stuff off, I write stuff down. I've got my little memo pad over in a box next to me that I've had for like 7 or 8 nationals. I write stuff down, but again, have some sort of inventory listing, whether it's a hard copy to keep in your back pocket, whether it's a digital copy on your phone, whether it's easy, quick access to your card letter account that has the current information of all your inventory. Just have something that you can refer back to on the values that you might be looking for. From a personal check perspective, after you get done talking to a dealer, we'll talk a little bit more about this just to make sure that you've still got everything. But it is a very good kind of item to have some sort of inventory listing, not only to actually know what you have at any given time on the floor, but also in preparing that inventory listing before the show, not the week of the show, before the show, to say that, okay, this is what I'm thinking about bringing. It's kind of organized. Again, it just helps you kind of cull back maybe stuff that if you're on the fence about bringing it, or like how you want to value things, or whatever the case might be. So I would strongly recommend that you make just some sort of inventory list, regard whatever form it takes is cool. But that's something that's very valuable to have once the show gets going hot and heavy, because like if you're talking to a dealer, you're not going to be able to like walk away and be like, hey, can you hold on for a few minutes? I got to go check some stuff. It's like, well, no, because there's going to be 10 people waiting behind you to try and like, catch up with the dealer or ask a question. So the more information you can have at your disposal as quickly as possible, that's going to make your show experience much better when working with both dealers and other
Yeah,
attendees alike.
yeah, because you're not going to be able to think clearly at the show.
No.
I don't know how much we can state that over and over, but like in the madness, like prices and what things are worth and that stuff kind of goes out the window a little bit just because you're so frantic. The other point I would make is on the luggage stuff, make sure you don't check your bag with your very expensive items. If you're going on the plane, keep that stuff with you. It's
Yes.
just a lot safer to have it with you. And the one question I get asked a lot is like, does security give you a hard time about having the cards? Not TSA. I never have had an issue with that. They'll like pull it out and look at it sometimes, but there's not an issue there. And same with cash. So let's move to cash then, or
Yep.
currency. What are you bringing in the form of money? Do people take PayPal? Are you bringing all cash? Do people take Bitcoin, which is going to be a hot topic this year relative
Mhm.
to other years? What form of currency do you want to bring?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. So cash is always number one. People are somewhat skittish about bringing cash in large amounts, and obviously large amounts is relative for everybody. So uh, cash will always get you the best deals if you want to just straight purchase something, if you just want to buy it. I would say that the amount of cash that you bring factors into that comfort level discussion that we just had with your inventory. It's no different. If you are not comfortable knowing that you're going to be around tens of thousands of people for several days straight with a sum of cash on your person that is going to just make you just basically side eyeing and looking up, down, left, and right instead of just like focusing on having fun the entire time, don't bring that much cash. There are several banks within, like, again, a 15-minute Uber ride. There's a Bank of America, there is a Wells Fargo, and I will bring some cash on the plane, and then I will also go to that Wells Fargo at some point during the show to make another withdrawal if I need to. So I'm not carrying that stuff with me, all the cash that I have when I travel. So there's a Bank of America, there's a Wells Fargo. I was talking to somebody else, and they mentioned Fifth Third
Chase.
Bank. Yeah, I'm not sure on Chase, or is there a Chase?
There is a Chase, yeah. It's
Okay.
pretty far. It's pretty far though.
Okay. So there is a Chase option. Somebody on Instagram messaged me if there was a Fifth Third. There's a Fifth Third Bank. I think there's a couple Fifth Third branches that are, I mean, super close. So again, if you want to try and get cash from a bank that week, that's a very good alternative. Just do the Google legwork beforehand to see, you know, where they are, and depending on how much cash you want to get, you might have to call them ahead of time to be like, I would like to get this amount on this date. Is that possible? So cash is number one. It will always be number one. Kind of the secondary would be PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. You know, most guys will take that. Some will be more reluctant than others to take PayPal, especially given when do the new requirements kick in? The $600 level? Is that 2021 or 22?
I think it's 2022 actually.
It is 2020. Okay. So we're still good for 2021 in terms of like you're not going to get 1099 for $600, but still people are trying to avoid PayPal as much as possible, just with kind of the indiscriminate account shutdowns and suspensions and closings for, you know, no real reason other than there was a flag that was sent up. So, you know, those will always be options, but they're definitely a second tier option, and you should not expect to get the same negotiation leverage if you are sending payment through, especially PayPal. I can't speak to Cash App, and like I think Venmo. I know my account has some pretty low, relatively speaking, caps on it. Yeah, exactly. So
$2,000, I think.
Yeah, if you're looking to use Venmo kind of as your primary source for moving cash in and out, that you're going to be kind of hamstrung, at least with the limits, if you're trying to do it in larger dollar amounts. And I think I got an email from, I think it was Venmo, about how they're going to be moving to a goods and services classification, like I think June or July 31st of this year, where they're going to start charging a fee, and it's basically going to be a PayPal goods type situation. So again, I have not dug into whatever that email was. I just kind of scanned it, but I would say if you're doing a lot of Venmo, that's something else to look into, both from accepting Venmo and sending Venmo, is just make sure that you understand what those new terms are. So if you send $1,000 to a dealer and they're netting, you know, $960 or whatever the case might be, and they're like, hey, you're $40 short, it doesn't turn into, you know, a holy war over $40 because you just forgot that they were making this change. So yeah, those PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, definitely options. Just know that you won't have the same type of leverage. Crypto will very much be a thing. It definitely will not be as ubiquitous as PayPal or Cash App or Venmo. But I know there's a lot of guys out there who will be, you know, ready to take some sort of crypto. I can't imagine the majority of crypto guys will be taking Doge or Ascoin or something like that. But I do assume that the standard torchbearers like Bitcoin and Ethereum, that people will be taking the kind of the fundamentals. So that if it is a bigger transaction, I wouldn't be surprised to hear, you know, a lot of people making transactions in crypto. Just again, know what you're doing. Make sure that you know how the process works from both sides of the transaction, before and after, if you're hopping into it. But that is it is another great alternative for people to use if they want to go that route, and if the other party is willing to accept it. So cash, number one; PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, number two; crypto, 2B, we'll call it. But regardless of what you're bringing, whether it's cash, PayPal, crypto, don't blow your budget in the first hour of the show. I mean, I don't care if your budget's $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, unless you're 100% certain that it is just the steal of the century and it's just staring you right there in the face. And the first case, when you walk in and you can flip this thing within an hour to double up your money, or if it's a penny PMG green equivalent that you never, a card you've been hunting for a decade. It never shows up. It's finally here. It's going to cost you every dollar, every dime, and every piece of clothing off your back. But this is the one you came for. Don't spend the money. Don't spend all your money. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people that just they just get in and they're like JoJo, the little circus kid, and they get too worked up and excited, and they just start buying everything because they think they can like make deals on it, or they think it's cool or whatever, and then they're like, I only have like 10% of my budget left, and it's Wednesday at 6 p.m. It's not a good position to be in, because when that happens, then it's kind of like, you might have the 20 cards in your PC box, but then you want more cash for the show, so it's like, all right, maybe do I pull these 3 out and try and move them? Do I pull these 5 out and try and move them? The trade bait that you had, it's a $1,000 card all day, but it's like, well, damn, I need money, so maybe I just like sell this for 800, and you start kind of like death by 1,000 cutting yourself in order to get back into a comfortable position where you've got money to spend on the showroom floor. So again, there are certain situations where you can blow out your budget straight from the get-go. And if those situations are there, God love you. That's why we do this. But I would say that it's important to have a decent bit of self-discipline in that like first 60 to 90 minute stretch when you're on the floor, because everything's going to be fresh. Everything's going to be new. Showcases won't have holes in them. You're going to think that everything that you see is the first time anybody has seen it in the entire show, and that you're onto something. You might be, but there's a good chance you're not too. So just take the deep breath and make it through the first hour without spending every dime that you have to your name, and it'll make your week a lot more enjoyable.
Is this one for me?
Perhaps.
The last national, I spent all of my money, and I owed money. I was like walking around trying to sell my cards in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah,
of
you were
set up
like,
on Wednesday.
You were like triple leveraged by like 10 a.m. on Thursday morning. I was like, what?
That was Wednesday. That was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday.
I was like begging you for money.
When it's Jordan PMG champs, then you make exceptions. So
all right. Okay. Non-cards. So the rest of the things. I'm going to run through a couple of these and I'll let you jump in.
Yep.
The main one is the portable charger. That one has saved me a ton of times, because
multiple portable chargers. Unless you have like one of the big boys that's got enough charge to power like the Eiffel Tower for a month. If you've got these little things, these little anchor, I can't remember what they're called, but these are great. They're on Amazon. They're like $20. And one of these I've owned for like 4 years, and it still works like a charm. The other one's new. So these little guys are great, and just have 2 of them fully charged, ready to go. Can't stress that. Portable chargers is by far the biggest one, because when you get everybody on the showroom floor and everybody's using the cell towers or trying to use the Wi-Fi, like your phone is going to grind to a halt. And it's going to.
There's certain points when like the charger is like keeping my phone at that battery level. It's not even increasing it, because it's like I'm having to keep it. Okay. Yeah, water bottle and snacks. The food around the edges of the show is not good. It will keep you alive technically if you eat it and drink it, but I would not recommend it. It's going to be expensive. It's barely ballpark food. I bet
barely.
that's being kind. So snacks are good. Little bag snacks, chips, whatever. Water bottle, and you can bring all that stuff into the show, no problem. So have a backpack potentially ready for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and if you are flying in, or if you just don't have any more room in the car for the snack stuff when you're driving up, there's a Walmart and a Target, again, 15 minutes away. So if that's something that you can do, maybe the first night after the show, or if you get in a day before, like it just pop over there, grab whatever. I do the exact same thing. I'll get in on Monday. I'll hop over to Walmart, grab what I need, and then come back home. Like it's super easy. And again, it saves you a lot of headaches when you're on the floor.
Yeah, the next thing is a paper list of dealer booths. So you might want to jot down the booths you want to hit, or what potentially you're hoping to find at specific booths. Once you get in, it can be a little bit disorienting trying to find everything. So if you at least have the booth numbers next to what you're looking for, you can find your way just by having the booth number. There was points when I like lost your booth, like I couldn't find it because
Yeah.
your guys are like in the middle of the second. It's like it
So,
can be a
so
little bit
yeah, so
disorienting.
that's an important one too. Not only from kind of an initial research or doing your pre work before going to the show to be like, oh, 610 Sports Cards, booth 478, shameless plug. Um, other friends, like I think RBI Crew Ryan, they're like 150, 153, I think, kind of in a little back alcove garage area that doesn't matter. They'll have tons of traffic. So not only is it important to figure out booths going in, if there's certain people that you want to meet or, certain cards you want to check out, when you're on the floor and you're like, oh, that booth's had some great cards, I should come back. Ask the damn dealer what their booth number is, because I can promise you, promise you, your sense of direction will be like, oh yeah, it's like 4 rows down, and if it's on the opposite side of the Panini booth, but if you go to the upper deck booth, you've gone too far. And
Yep.
I kind of remember one of the guys had like a LeBron refractor rookie or something like that, so it's around there. But you're not going to find what you're looking for if you don't write down a booth number of the dealer where you found something you like. So not only write the booth numbers down ahead of time, but just it's good. It's just a good habit to have when you see a booth that's got great cards or something specific that you're looking for, a dealer that you like talking to, whatever. Just ask them their booth number, and the booth number, each dealer will have like a small little placard with their name on it, on the front of one of the tables. And I think the booth number is written in very small numbers in the bottom corner of that placard as well. But it's just easiest to ask. Like if a dealer doesn't know their booth number, they're idiots.
We have bigger problems. All
Yes.
right. Backpack. I'm a big backpack guy. I know a lot of guys have the rolly bags. I think both are fine. Just like I talked about earlier, is planning how much stuff you're gonna have, because you're gonna be lugging it around on your shoulders all day, and it can get tiring. Card
And
supplies.
if
Go
you
ahead.
the one thing on the bags too, if you do bring a roller bag, again, I think that there's going to be so much foot traffic. It happens all the time in general. Like your
Yeah.
roller bag behind you is going to be bumping into people. Like people are going to be kicking it. It's going to get annoying, and people are going to get annoyed with like running into it. So if you have a roller bag, I would almost recommend, instead of like a computer roller bag that you drag behind you, like get a small suitcase that has wheels that you can push in front of you, and that will allow you to navigate that bag through the crowd, and like people aren't just constantly knocking you around behind you. Because again, these aisles are not wide. Like they are not wide at all once you get on the showroom floor, and once people fill in. The more you can do to just kind of like stay in your own lane and be in control of as much as you can control, it's gonna help.
And I've seen people really love those big Pelican suitcases right now. That's very
Uh,
a hot thing. But man, lugging that around, every time I see someone lugging that around, I think that looks like it's gonna really suck after a couple
Yeah,
hours.
I think your 25 cards will be okay in something that doesn't have like a class 5 fire rating and is not waterproof. It's not waterproof to 6,000 meters. Yeah, hey,
It's my
look at
secret
that,
weapon.
BGS boxes. Like it's it's that easy.
Yeah, because I try to bring one or two of those, put them in my backpack. That's all you need. And if you have two of those, you can separate PC and inventory. All right, card supplies. The card supplies at
Yes.
the show are incredibly expensive, and they know that because you're there. It's easier. You can just buy them, but make sure you bring your own top loaders, penny sleeves, team bags. At the last Dallas show, I did not, and I spent like $15 on penny sleeves, and it's like, what?
Well, and not only are the supplies expensive, because they 100% are, but like I think out of all those booths, there's like two guys that sell supplies, like two booths that actually sell everything you need. So at least if you're a card collector, if you're a memorabilia guy, there's a lot more options. But if you're looking for the basics, the penny sleeves, the top loaders, the one touches, whatever, not only are you going to pay more, but it is going to be a pain in the ass if you're
To
at
find
my
them.
booth. And I'm pretty sure I know where one of the guys sets up, and he's on the other side of the hall. So if you find a card in a dollar box or whatever that's a cool card, and you need to go buy a one touch for it, like you're just going to have to walk all the way across the showroom floor. And again, I know these aren't these aren't really that big of problems or issues, but it's just something else that you're going to have to do. And you're going to be like, oh crap. Okay. I'll be back, and you have to stop what you're doing, leave whatever you're doing, go do that, and then come back. So just the more that you can bring, whether it's, and it doesn't have to be an entire backpacks worth of supplies either. Just Josh, like you said, some different size penny sleeves,
Right.
some different size one touches or top loaders, a few one touches, a few team bags. Like I put all of that stuff in like this gallon plastic bag and squish it down, and you're ready to go. That's really all you need.
And final reminder, deodorant. I've actually put deodorant in my backpack to walk around the show, because by the end of the show, you're just,
Everybody's right. Everybody's real ripe. Yep.
Right.
A lot of dude.
All right, let's move on to our favorite topic, show etiquette. This one, not a lot of people are talking about this content necessarily around the show, but we feel it's important, so let's jump into it. Let's talk about dealers.
Yep.
So like the show etiquette around you as a buyer going up to a dealer, how you treat the dealer. Why don't you jump into that, especially from your perspective as the dealer? How do you want to be treated?
Yeah, you got it. So it kind of boils down to, and this is for all of us. I don't care if it's me as a dealer, me as a buyer, or anybody who's watching this. You are going to have your expectation of how things should go, and then you are going to have experienced the reality of how those things actually go on the floor. Oftentimes those two things, they match up, they mirror up. The main thing is, don't be an ass. I know this is not hard advice, or like I'm not offering some trenchant insight into humanity and human interactions, but it's just don't be a jerk. So I guess from a dealer perspective, we kind of mentioned it before when we were talking about what to bring and splitting up personal collection versus non-personal collection stuff. But if a dealer has cards behind the case and they've got price tags on them, or they don't have price tags on them, but whatever price they want on their cards, that's their right. They can ask those prices. You might think that those prices are over eBay, they're too high. They very well might be, and oftentimes, a lot of times they will be. But again, dealers have the right to price that stuff the way that they want to. And again, conversely, you have the right to price your stuff the way that you want to. So I think it's important for both dealer and attendee to just have that mutual respect for one another, and know that if there's a number that maybe one party doesn't necessarily agree with, you can ask, are you flexible on that, or are you open to offers, or can we work on that? That's cool. That's part of the process. But don't let an overpriced card ruin your entire afternoon. Like, I've seen people spiral so fast over something being like 110% of eBay. And I'm like, what in the hell is wrong with you, dude? Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So just kind of respect that decision-making process. And that goes for both sides of the table. I will add that, again, there is the built-in, and this goes for attendees as well, but there are additional costs for dealers to set up a booth. Like, a booth at the National is not free. There is the cost of the booth itself. There's the cost of renting display cases. There's the cost of transportation, which is also for attendees. There's the cost of food, beverage, hotel, whatever it is. Again, a lot of these are shared and similar costs between both dealers and attendees. But just know that some dealers and a lot of dealers will price things accordingly to try and help recover some of that cost. And kind of the counter that I would make when somebody says, well, attendees incur those costs too. It's like, well, that's true. But I think that the benefit that you have as an attendee, and a justification for charging a bit of a premium for dealers, is that you can see these cards in person. If a card sells for $1,000 on eBay, a dealer wants $1,100 for it, and obviously, it's your normal VFW hall show. If something sells for $1,000 on eBay, it's priced at $1,000. You can talk them down to $900, whatever the case might be for off eBay fees. But like, the ability to see a card in person and be able to make that judgment call, like that's worth something. So again, just if something isn't priced the way you want it to be priced, ask the other person if they can do something with it, and if they can't, um, it is what it is. It's no big deal. Um, the next point that I would make is that if you're not comfortable from a situation, and this is going to, we've already talked about it and we're going to continue to talk about it, but if you're not comfortable with a situation, walk away from it. Whether that situation is the way that a dealer is talking to you, if you are a dealer, whether it's the way somebody who walks up to your booth is talking to you, if you are not happy with the way that somebody is handling your cards or looking through your cards when you're trying to work on a deal, if you just feel you're not getting the same level of respect from the other party that you should be getting. And again, when I say respect, it's not like this jerk won't lower his prices. It's a matter of like he's talking down to me, or he's just being awful. Like, you are well within your right to walk away, because regardless of the situation or who's on what side of the table, it's, respect should not be something that's sacrificed during the course of a negotiation or a talk. So that would be my main thing. Again, like we've already talked about and we'll continue to talk about, is that if a situation seems off or you're not comfortable, walk away from that situation. You do not lose a single thing by walking away from a situation that you're uncomfortable in. And if you start to make concessions to try and make the other person comfortable, and you ultimately do end up making some sort of deal, you will be much more upset with yourself that you kind of you bent the knee, so to speak, to accommodate the other person, instead of just giving the guy the finger internally and being like, yeah, I'm out. So again, respect should never be sacrificed, regardless of what side of the table you're on. And then I would say that the last bit of the last dealer tidbit I would have, and I shared this one in 2019, and I shared every time I talk to somebody about being a dealer. Do not try and scoop a sale from a dealer until the dealer is done with that particular person or that transaction. And what I mean by that is dealings that take place on the internet, whether it's in a Facebook post, an Instagram post, whatever the case might be, somebody will post something for $1,000, and you'll immediately have people that hop into the comments and be like, oh, hit me up, hit me up, hit me up. And that just doesn't fly at a show in person with the dealer. The common etiquette for dealers, and it should be this way online too, it just doesn't happen, but like the common etiquette with dealers and sellers should be that if a dealer and a seller are working on a possible trade or a purchase, that don't try and jump into the middle of their negotiation and start like offering to buy or grab the cards at the value that one or the other, that the seller is throwing off to the dealer. Like, let them get through whatever they need to get through first, whether it's they actually do a deal for everything, they do a partial deal or whatever. Do not just jump in the middle of a conversation and be like, oh, if he doesn't take that at $1,000, I will. Like that, just, this is
Just a
from
line of
personal
guys doing
experience.
it, and then if he doesn't take it, I'll take it.
Yes, exactly. And then it's like, it's the Facebook thing. It's like, oh, wow,
Right.
fourth in line, fifth in line, sixth in line. It's like, just don't do that in person. Let the dealer, let the seller or the trader, whatever they're doing, let them finish up. And then once they're done, once the dealer moves on, grab the person and be like, hey, those 3 or 4 cards, I'm interested in those. You want to go somewhere and talk? Totally fine. But just, again, don't undercut dealers in the middle of talks, because speaking from personal experience, that is a very bad idea. Personal experience being I'm the one that screwed up. Now, I was not the dealer. I was the ding dong who was sidling in and being like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
I'll take it. Yeah, don't do.
Especially when it's a good deal and you're just like waiting for the right moment.
Right. And, you're biting your tongue. You're like, oh, please pass, please pass, please pass, please pass. And if he does, great. There you go. Right place, right time. And you got a nice buy. But yeah, if just don't jump in the middle of a dealer and seller interaction until they're done.
Yeah. All right, I'll hit the attendee side on the etiquette.
Yep.
And these are more just like advice pieces than technical etiquette, because I think you covered a lot of that already. The main one for me as an attendee, especially my first show, you and I talked about this a lot. It's like, it's very intimidating as the attendee to, kind of be the one that has lesser power in the instance. Like the person behind the booth has sort of the upper hand in a lot of cases that you've already described. And so, and given that like the whole show is very chaotic, you're trying to keep up with everything. If you see something you like at a dealer table and you're not quite sure how much you want to pay or you're not ready, you don't have to just like jump in and start negotiating right away. You can kind of sit back, watch the dealer work, see what type of back and forth or etiquette they have as an individual, and then you can simply ask, "What's the price on that?" Start from there, and then you can just always step back, take some time to yourself, go figure out if this is the right price for you, if you need to think about it, if you need to go research the price some more. You don't have to sit there and like do things right away and make an immediate decision. Some dealers will like be pretty pushy about it and like try to get you to do the deal faster because they know that that's going to be beneficial to them, but you don't have to do it that way. You can always step away. um, just even right at the table, you could just like stand there and just say, "I need a minute, I'm just going to keep browsing, thanks." And then some other attendee will usually jump in and take the dealer's attention away. So you'll always have kind of a moment to kind of get away from it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The other point that I'll make, and for both dealers and attendees, is that both sides of the table, just be patient. There's going to be so much going on. There's going to be so many people around. You'll learn this very quickly, that if there's two or three people gathered around a booth and they're like kind of elbowing each other and be like, and pointing and stuff like that, it always blows my mind how quickly that two or three person group turns into like 10 or 15 or 20. And it's just all of a sudden it's everybody crowded around, like, phones hanging over the top, or like everybody's just looking at stuff and talking about prices or inventory or whatever. So when situations like that happen, whether you're trying to get the attention of a dealer, or they're not getting around to you, or like dealers want to sell stuff. Like, dealers are there to sell stuff, to buy stuff, and to make deals so they can continue to be dealers. So I would say, in some hand up, some dealers are much better about handling the crowds and the rotations than others. So I would say that it's just important to be patient on both sides. And if a dealer just never gets to you, or like is rude to you, then again, just leave. To hell with them. That's fine. That's not cool. But patience will go a long way during your entire national stay.
Yeah. There's another tidbit that I remember now that comes up a lot for me personally. Because like, so there's not a lot of space like we've discussed, and you're literally going to be like talking to people in the aisles with people moving around you. And if you're trying to do a deal that doesn't involve a dealer, and it's like between you and another attendee, one issue that comes up a lot is like, where do you put your stuff when you're making this
Yes,
deal?
yes,
Don't
yes,
just
yes.
put it on
Yep.
the glass case, the display cases of dealers, because you're covering up their inventory, like this is their space. So you can ask the dealer, but in general, try to find some other space. There's like little kind of corner tables next to
Mhm.
some booths that you can do stuff like that. But don't just plop out all your cards on their glass and have them like get pissed off at you. So obviously, if it's
No,
someone
that's
a dealer, like ask them. But that that
yeah, no,
that that
that's a
situation
really
comes up a lot.
good one. Yeah, that's a really good one. And again, it's just have some sense of like situational awareness. So if it's Wednesday at 7:15 and the show's pretty dead, because it's the first day, it's technically the sneak peek, and that happens, and like there's nobody at a dealer's booth, like it's cool. Just ask the dealer, be like, hey, do you mind if I just set this stuff over in this very small corner or something real quick? And I mean, for the most part, especially if you were talking to them about cards before, they'll be like, yeah, that's fine. It's just like you said, Josh. If it's Saturday at 10:30 in the morning and there's 30 people huddled around a booth, and you're trying you're trying to scoop the deal that the dealer just passed on, that we just talked about. So you grab the guy, or you tap the guy on the shoulder, and you're like, hey, you want to take a look at my stuff real quick? That doesn't mean set your stuff on the booth immediately, because now not only is it your stuff, it's old guy stuff too. So now you could be taking up, blocking like a couple cases worth of stuff. So again, just use common sense. If it's slow and you were just talking to the dealer and somebody comes up and they're like, hey, I like that, just ask the dealer. Like, it's cool. Most will probably be, well, I won't say most, but it's an option. And then if the dealer's like, I'd rather you not, it's like, okay, that's cool. Then you can just go, like Josh said, find a corner, or find a table, or out in the lobby, something like that.
or on the floor, like literally sit Indian style on the floor and figure out that happens as well, especially if you're tired. It's not a bad option. All right, let's move into, I'm gonna call it show fatigue. You wrote frustrations. I call it fatigue. There's just like so many things that pop up through the show where you start to get worn down over things, whether that's like physically you're tired from moving around, or you can't find what you're looking for. People have been rude to you. Um, you know, you're not finding the cards you want. There's all these different things that keep coming up. What are some things that you do, maybe as a dealer or as an attendee, that you can kind of pause and reset during the show? Because it is a few days, right? We've got Wednesday, Thursday,
A
Friday. It's a
long
5 day
time.
show,
Yeah,
so you
it's
need
a
to
long
pace
time.
yourself. Yeah.
And not to hijack your own show, but did you want to talk about content creators real quick in terms of show etiquette?
Yes, we skipped skipped
Yes,
content
because
creators. Let's
and
do
this
that.
is con,
It's part of
content creation.
frustrations. It's part of frustrations.
Yes, no, that's a perfect segue into show frustrations. All right, so the biggest difference this year, ignoring the obvious of sports cards are just this. Sports cards are more popular than they've ever been before by like an exponential factor, obviously. So that's gonna play an impact. But as part of that, I think the biggest difference that we're going to see this year is content creation. That content creation is going to take the form of local news. There might be some regional news affiliates there. Um, there might be newspaper folks there. There will be legitimate. I'll use legitimate. And I actually mean this. Legitimate content creators, such as whether it's Sasha, whether it's Ryan, Card Collector 2, whether it's Card Ladder. There will be other content creators that will be there that I would use the legitimate word on as well, but they are a different breed of live content creators. And then there will be people who will be there under the guise of content creation, but they're just morons with their iPhones, and they're just sticking their iPhone right in your face, or like jamming it in your booth, or like trying to ask you questions or videotape God knows what. Okay, so me personally, I recognize the value of content creation. It is incredibly important to extending the hobby, showing what these shows are all about, showing how they work, what they mean, what there is to do, not only for the people that the other hobbyists who just don't attend, but people who might be on the fringe of the hobby, or they're trying to learn more about what sports cards is. And obviously talking about the national and learning about the national is a big part of understanding what this hobby is all about, because it's our biggest event of the year. Practice patience. I would say that the main thing for both creators and subject matter experts alike would be, ask the person that you want to talk to, or that you want to film their booth, or that you're going to film around their booth, is this cool? Are you okay with this? Because not everybody is okay with being on camera. I am currently on camera talking to you. I am almost 7 feet tall. I do not have a choice in the matter oftentimes when it comes to being, if there's a camera around me, it's probably going to pick me up. I also enjoy this part of this to a degree. So, if you want to come up and talk, or talk values, or ask questions, or whatever, I'm probably going to be cool with that. But just know that there are going to be people that are not okay with that. And I would stress that not only is it a matter of asking if it's okay to film around there, or film their stuff, or film them trying to conduct a deal with somebody else. Oh God, I'm ranting. The one thing I don't want is that if I am talking about a deal with somebody else, and it's a big deal, and there's cards and or cash on the table, if you are recording me dealing with somebody else, I will shut the deal down, and I will just like ask you to stop filming, because I think that is an incredible invasion of privacy. It's not something that I want to participate in. I am not a fan of the cameras huddled around when other people are trying to conduct business. Again, that's me. That hand up, that's me. Other people, wine and dine them, 69 them. They're all for it. They love it. They love the spotlight. They love the hashtag stacks of cash or whatever it is that is going on these days. Cool, fine. That's not me. So again, not only is it important to ask permission, but I would say it's also important and relevant, or not relevant, but you need to be ready to answer some follow-up questions. So if somebody comes up and they're like, do you mind if I film? It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, no sweat. What do you want to film? What are you doing? Like, what are you just taking pictures of my stuff? Like, do you want to talk? Do you want to film? Are you trying to get B-roll of like dealers just talking with other patrons? Just let me know, provide what information you can about the purpose of the filming, and most likely I'm going to be cool with it. And it will not be the same for everybody. Everybody has their varying degrees of kind of privacy, so to speak, that they would like to wall off. But the main thing for me is just ask permission. Like that's all. If there's one takeaway from this, all my hashtag content creators out there, just please, before you start filming, just make sure that the general targets area or whatever. I'm not saying you have to go around and like get every attendee to sign a waiver. You're going to be on camera. You're going to be on camera. Nothing crazy like that. Just if there's a specific person you're talking to or a specific booth you want to film, just ask somebody that looks like it's their stuff if it's cool to film. That's it. That's all I ask.
Yeah,
Jesus, that was a long rant. I'm sorry.
The filming stuff. The filming content isn't necessarily new. Like there was definitely some of that in past years, but the content now is more deal based. Like people are trying to get in on the capturing the content of like this big deal or trade going down, and so you get a lot of like forced filming to try to create these deals or to try to like build anticipation towards it. And you just like there's so many instances I saw where there's a camera person following an individual around attempting to make a deal, and so they have to, in order to capture every second of it, they basically have to start filming before, so it's more organic. But then the dealer is like, what are you doing? Like I'm you don't even know if I'm going to make a deal with you. Why are we doing this? So that's the new introduction of awkwardness that's been introduced, and we got to get past that.
That's helpful because that shows you the extent of how much I know about how this actually works. So again, old man up in the clouds is already screaming into the void about something that may or may not actually be a thing.
That's going to be.
But I think it still does hold true. Like if you got a camera and you're going up to a booth, you want to start doing something, just ask. Because my thing is that I think it's not. You're absolutely right. There have been people who have filmed stuff at shows before. I just think the sheer quantity of filming and the amount of content that is going to be shared, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, Snapface, I don't know. I don't care. It's just going to be by volume this year, so much more given where we're at. So just be mindful that just because you're cool with filming something as the person filming it doesn't mean that your subject matter or your person that you're filming is cool with it to the same degree that you are. So just ask.
Yeah. Well, this is frustration bullet point number 1 then. I mean, that was pretty much the theme of the last Dallas show.
You can't see it.
The last Dallas show I went to, the theme of it, and Lamim James always likes to keep a heartbeat on this side of things, is like that was the theme of Dallas for most people, was like seeing all the camera crews and like people had like the light fixtures and everything, like the whole nine. So that's going to be a big part of National, I think, as well. So if we're going to be looking for things pissing us off, that might be number 1. So just got to be.
Well, it's a good thing my booth isn't 10 feet away from Investicard. So I guess I'll be secure. I'll be insulated from content creation.
Yeah, sure.
Was that your good luck with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said it already. You're 6'10", so I mean, like, people are going to be filming up to the ceiling, and your head will be in there.
Yeah, maybe it'll just be a lot of like Chris Bosch photo bombs of like just coming up from underneath, picking my head up into people's frame.
Okay, so let's just
Yeah,
jump
that's
straight.
frustration number one, and it's a frustration I haven't even experienced yet at the show. So now we can talk about ones that I actually have experienced and that you've experienced as well.
Well, we listed some of them off, so why don't you jump into like some of your
Yeah,
pieces of advice and like the pacing yourself kind of mindset.
yeah, definitely. The first one that I wrote down is you can't find what you're looking for. Um, this is very real because I know that I can't tell you. And we talked about this a little bit on a couple years ago, but I can't tell you just the amount of like excitement and adrenaline when you're walking through the national doors for like the first day of your show, or I mean every single day for that matter, but especially the first day. It's like this is it all year. Like we're back, and especially this year too. You walk in and you're on cloud nine, just flying high. You make those first laps, like you run to see some of the dealers that you know, or like you've done your pre-work and like you've identified some dealers that have had nice deals in the past, and you go to their booth. You make your first lap or two, and you get done, and like you're an hour and a half, 2 hours into it, and you find yourself back at the entrance again, and you're like, well, shit, that I didn't find anything. I've literally told myself before the national, I didn't find anything within like that first couple hours, because there's just, again, expectation versus reality. You expect just this ocean of steals or something to open up to you, or like I've got 10 items on my white whale list and I have found 8 within the first 60 minutes of the show. It's like that doesn't happen. So it's just kind of important to not only manage those expectations going in, but if you find yourself just getting down because like all the cases look familiar, or you're just not finding what you're looking for, or like you brought some cards that you prioritized to try and sell or trade, and you've like moved 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20, and you're just not, you're not in a show groove. Like don't, or if the show's just too crowded, if you're just sick of being next to people and making the same kind of like mindless laps and bumping into the same type of folk, so to speak, that you have been running into for the past 3 or 4 days, take a break, like tap yourself out. There's so much to do at the national beyond just keeping your head down and mindlessly wandering from case to case, booth to booth, not saying anything to anyone. Like, go look at the auction house stuff. Go look at what Heritage has got. They've always got all kinds of amazing game worn memorabilia of like Ruth and Ted Williams bats and MJ jerseys and all the cards that like you'll see on these major auction houses, or jerseys or shoes or whatever. Like you can look at that stuff in person. It's great. It's cool. And you can take pictures of it too. So like go look at the stuff that the big auction houses have out on display. Shoot a message to some friends. Be like, hey, what are y'all up to right now? I've made some laps by myself, looking for some stuff, kind of done with that. Y'all, do you want to meet up? You want to meet up at Panini or something like that and just go wander around together? Like I can't tell you how much clarity you get from or clarity that you get over the showroom floor when you're not looking at the showroom floor, if that makes any sense at all. Like when you're able to remove yourself from that like hyper focus of cards, deals, flips, and you can break away and just take a different perspective on the show, regardless of what that perspective might be, or how you accomplish that. When you come back to honing back in or refocusing again on the cards, it's like, oh, okay, nice, this guy has new inventory out, or this person sold something that is a comp of mine and they had this sticker price on it, so like that's information for you, that's good, that's helpful. So again, just we all lose sight for one reason or another during the course of the week on like what's going on with the show, and things aren't going our way, quote unquote. So when you start to feel that happening, or if you feel like you're getting down on the show, just just reset, just recalibrate, because there's so much stuff to do, and there's so many different ways to do it. That being able to recognize when you're getting down on yourself, kind of pull yourself out a little bit. Um, it it goes a long way with being able to refocus whenever you're ready to just start like looking for cards again, or just re-engaging basically with some of your, whatever your early goals were for the show.
Yeah. This is always the number one thing I've learned over the years of national is like, my first one, I have my set amount of cash. We've gone through all the pieces that all the advice we've given you. You get the cash, you've got your booth numbers written down, you've got your plan, you've got your inventory separated from your PC, you've got all this sort of card stuff figured out. And then you get there, and the reality is, you're not going to be able to spend that 10,000 that you brought perfectly, and flip all that into 20 grand. You're not going to be able to trade all the pieces you wanted to trade and find the perfect one, and you're not going to have it all spaced out perfectly over the 5 days where it all just lines up. There's going to be a ton of gap of like, things aren't going my way, or I'm kind of tired of the card thing, and you got to start planning for all the other stuff. Like the pressure to make a deal every second, especially with what you see on content, is like the content you
Yes.
see is these massive deals. So
Yes.
you're pressured to like, oh, I've got to spend all my money. I've got to make 3 sweet trades, or this thing is a whole bust. I would just not go into the show with that expectation at all, because you're going to be most likely disappointed. If you go into it with the expectation of doing some of these other things you're listing, and we have them all written down, walking the showroom floor, sharing things with your friends, and you've touched on all these, hitting the vendor booths. If you leave the show having done all of those things, you're going to be way more satisfied. And then the deals that you make are kind of the cherry on top. Like, oh, I ended up also getting this sweet trade, something I didn't expect, because you can't plan for those things. What you can plan for is who you're meeting there, what trade nights you attend, what booths you go see that are going to be there. So it's really, like you said, this whole thing comes down to expectation and reality for me.
Yep, agreed. And one of the things that we've kind of we tangentially touched on it, but we both got it in bold on our bullet points here, is the main thing that comes out of the nationals is meeting people. Like, you get to meet the people that you only know as like an Instagram avatar, or like a lot of us have never seen pictures of each other in our entire lives. So whether it's firing up an Instagram group chat, or like just DMing one person specifically and be like, hey man, we've done like 12 deals over the past 8 months. Do you want to just like catch up at a booth and walk around for a few minutes? It's like, that's the stuff that really matters, because there's so many relationships that start online, as weird as that sounds. But then once you actually get a chance to meet folks in person and spend time with people, it just goes so much farther in terms of not only enhancing your overall experience for that week, but just whether it's subsequent deals, subsequent shows. Hell, going like to spend time with the person's family or whatever, or meeting up for a weekend or a day to have dinner or drinks or golf or whatever the case might be. It's like the relationships are so much more important than the cardboard that kind of acts as the foundation or the jumping off point for those relationships. So we can't stress that enough. It's like, and especially too, if this is something that's out of your comfort zone, get out of your comfort zone. Like, there's just no other way to put it. Like, if you're an introvert behind a computer, and I get it, there's a lot of us, again, hand up, myself included to a degree. It's like, make yourself, or force yourself to get out and meet some of these people that you like, that you look forward to talking to online, every single day, whether it's sharing stupid memes or making fun of Ben Simmons, rest in peace, or just whatever the case might be. It's like, okay, why don't do it in person? Yeah, do it in person. It's like, hey, did you see the latest Lameme post? It's like, yeah, that was hilarious. It was the 99th Ben Simmons meme that, I'm kind of getting tired of, but that's just me. But again, have these conversations that you would have online in person. Use that opportunity to have these same BSing around conversations in person. And I guarantee you will be so much better off for it, for any number of different reasons, that week and down the road.
Yep. Yeah. And I try to spend a lot of my time planning around that stuff, because it could be to where there's just so much going on, so many people, that you're having trouble figuring out, where do I want to spend the most time? So trying to pre-plan as much as you can. You obviously want sort of the impromptu meetups. It's a little bit more organic and fun, but like things like trade nights or dinners after the
Yep.
show, I think it's important to plan those going into it. I know
Agreed.
you and I are big on that. We're trying to plan that out months in advance of like, oh, Thursday night we're doing X, Friday night we're doing the casino, Saturday night we're doing dinner with XYZ people. Having
Mhm.
those planned out as well is a big help, especially because at the show, the end of the nights, you know how this goes. Everyone's all crowded around a booth. It's like, where are we going? Where are we going? And then no one can decide, and nothing ends up happening, and you're sort of like stuck trying to figure it out. So having those planned is really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. And the one thing that I'll mention as well, with regard to the trade nights is that uh, a lot of the trade nights will be unplanned. Like if we've
Mhm.
learned anything from what we've seen from like Dallas or Miami or Dells or whatever, it's just people go back to the hotel and just, much to the chagrin of hotel staff, just like completely
The
take over
lobby.
the lobby.
Yeah.
I mean, the lobbies of these hotels turn into impromptu card shows. So what are the hotels that are closest to the convention center? There's the Hyatt that's right next door. There's the DoubleTree across the street. I think there's a Holiday Inn right across the street, and there's a few others. But I guarantee you, every single night there will be people, and you'll see it. You'll see it across all the socials where they're just sitting in a hotel lobby, um, doing the exact same thing that they were just doing for the past 8 hours in a convention center. And Josh, you made this point in when we were talking before we started the show. Is not only are these just additional chances for you to meet people you haven't met before, but it's also a much more informal environment. Like it's
Mhm.
not necessarily the big bad dealer behind the booth, behind the
Right.
table,
The
and
one-on-one
you're
kind of
trying to
thing.
make, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're trying to work to them. Like this is people with cases with cards. It's like showing stuff off, talking about whatever. If you get a deal done, great. If you don't, also great. But there's people make trades and deals all the time, just in these hotel lobby trade nights. So I 100% guarantee you that this will be a thing and this will happen. And while it's not necessarily formal, like you said, there's not really any planning that goes into it. All you got to do is fire up Instagram at like 7, 8 p.m. every single night. And I'm sure you will see at least a dozen people you follow, like videos of people congregated in some hotel room. So grab a small box, grab a book bag, whatever, walk over there for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you want to do, and you'll be better off for it, like we said.
Yes. All right. That was my favorite topic. My least favorite topic is theft.
Yep.
Um, there is theft at every national. That's going
Yep.
to happen, and we obviously want as little of it as possible. What can we do to prevent it as individuals? Because we can't stop it from happening at all, but we as individuals can protect ourselves best we can. If everyone does that, it'll reduce it as much as possible. So, what are some really easy ways to stop it as an individual?
Yep. I guess the first thing that I'll say is the dealer listserv, so to speak. We got an email from NSCC just about specifically about security, and they have acknowledged that they will be significantly increasing security. I don't know what significant means, but in terms of the amount of security that they've had in prior years versus this year, they said it's going to be uniformed officers, plainclothes officers, private contractor type security. So there will be a much more significant law enforcement and security presence at this show than I think we've ever uh, seen before at a national. So
That's great.
that's great. Yes, exactly, and I think that's worth mentioning just from the get go. Obviously, with that being said, you're absolutely right. There will be some sort of theft, some degree of theft. There always is. There are tons of eyes, there's tons of hands, there's tons of moving parts, all day, every day. So there's a few things that we always talk about, and again, most of this is common sense. But in the heat of the moment, like we've talked about, you lose sight of common sense, or it takes a much lesser priority than it might be in a different circumstance. So the first thing is just have that degree of self-awareness and mindfulness when you are starting to show cards off to, whether it's in a one-on-one situation, if it's in a group situation, if it's with a dealer and nobody's around, if it's with a dealer and other people around. Like the thing that always makes me nervous, and I mean it still does to this day, is like when you're working with a dealer, and you've got a stack of 20 cards, and the dealer starts making like piles to try and prioritize things or whatever the case might
Hmm.
be. Or you might start doing that too. You're like, I don't know about this one, but maybe this one. And you've got 3 or 4 stacks of your cards, and they're just kind of, they just start to spread out. And again, when things are happening, things attract a crowd. So just understand, like, when is a crowd starting to build? Like, what am I dealing with here? Are these lower end cards? Like, are these super high end cards? Like, what are the stakes basically? What's in play right now that I could potentially lose? So again, just try and be as mindful and self-aware as you can when you do start to move and shake with that inventory out in just like a kind of a public place, so to speak. um I would say that when you're carrying things around, like from the book bag perspective, you don't necessarily have to like carry the book bag on the front, like hugging it as
Right.
hard as possible the entire time, and just like, eyes straight forward. But again, if you want to rock the backpack in the front, or if you want to put a lock on your bag, like, go for it. It's all about whatever you're comfortable with. So if there's little steps that you can take and that you think of ahead of time to help you get more comfortable and ultimately mitigate risk, go for it. Do it. Um, the next thing I would say, and we've touched on it a bit with the inventory list, but it's worth repeating because this is an important function that an inventory list can serve. And that's to say, you just, some guy just went through a box of 30 of your cards, like we were talking about, and maybe you sold one of them or two or zero. So when you're done, step aside. And if a dealer gets pissed off about this, then that dealer's a dick. But basically step aside with whatever those cards were and just take a few seconds to flip through them. Or like, if you want to refer to your inventory list of, if there were maybe like, of the 20, there are 4 or 5 higher dollar ones that you just want to check and make sure you have. Like, you don't have to meticulously go through and be like, okay, item 1A double 3, okay,
Right.
check. Number 2, like, you don't have to do that, but it's just good kind of standard operating procedure, good habits that you can form to be able to take things aside and quickly just look through your box and be like, okay, yeah, this looks right. Because
Right.
there's no worse feeling than getting back to a booth and being like, oh God, where is this one or these two or whatever. So always be ready and understand that you can reference your inventory against whatever list that you brought.
Well, you might think that you're like offending the dealer by
No,
having just
no.
completed something with them, being like, "Did you take anything? Do I still have it?" No, like as an individual, I can tell you every time I leave any booth and my cards have come out and I put them back in, I'm looking through, like you said, making sure. And I think everyone's aware. Like, no, it's not. You're not trying to offend me that you think I stole it or something. It's just that's just your part of your checklist kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's not accusatory at all. Like, you're absolutely right. Whether it's, somebody coming up to, or the person who's come up to the booth asking the dealer, or whatever. Like, people ask me all the time. It's like, hey, did you see that, like, LeBron or something like that? And it's it's no big deal, because things will just get like, they'll be
Yeah.
underneath the bag or a box or an inventory list, or just stuff happens all the time. There's so many moving parts so throughout the day. So just ask. Yeah, again, if a dealer takes offense to like just asking, like, hey, did you see this one? Like, the dealer's an ass. What's that? Oh, buddy system. Yeah. So again, you learned buddy system when you were what, like preschool, kindergarten, but going around, making the rounds with a friend and knowing that you've got somebody else there to not necessarily like be your inventory checklist for you, but just help to be a second set of eyes if you start working with a dealer or somebody else, to make sure that like hands aren't sneaking in, or
Yep.
nobody's doing stuff that's weird. Like, that's very, very valuable because it allows you to focus on what you're trying to accomplish, and then that person is just your eyes and your ears, so to speak, looking out for you to make sure that you're still good. Um, Excuse me. This is one that I mentioned last time. It's something that I'm happy to do. I know other dealers do it as well, but I know other dealers often will not, because it does take extra time, and it many dealers are very, very good at multitasking. And if you do this, it's basically you're getting all of the focus and they can't do other stuff. But if you're working on a bigger trade or a bigger sale with the dealer, um, and the values are starting to add up or the number of cards are starting to add up, like you're well within your right to ask a dealer to be like, do you mind if I just come back there real quick? Like I think we're close. If you start off by saying, I've got a lot of cards, can I come behind the booth? The dealer's gonna be like, probably not. But if you're getting close on something, and you want to do the deal, or like you think that you're just a couple pieces away, but again, there's people starting to crowd around, or like the values are starting to get high because it starts as like, what about this $100 card for $100 card, and then you've got like $10,000 worth of cards out. Just ask the dealer if you can go behind the booth and wrap things up. I'm more than happy to do it. Like I said, I know other guys are happy to do it, but not everybody will do that, and with good reason, because they are able to multitask at a very, very high level. So they might not just want to do it. So, but it is always a fair question to ask, to say that, is there, can we just kind of step aside and see if we can finish this up? Last point that I have, if you're not comfortable, walk away. Again, if the crowds start to get too big, if you don't want to be on camera, if you're worried about what you're getting from the dealer. So we always kind of joke / cry / shake our heads at this, but you will see certain dealers that have a booth with 10 display cases of cards. 9.85 of those 10 cases will be filled with PSA slabs. And then at the bottom, you'll see like a little row or two of raw cards. And if you see those raw cards amidst all the PSA graded cards, it's like, should I make a deal for these? It's a nice card, it's a nice price, but why aren't these 12 cards out of the other 500 that are displayed, why aren't these graded? So again, if you can't get comfortable with the card, with the dealer, with the value, with the scenario, the terms, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just be like, pull the ripcord. I appreciate you looking through this stuff. We're definitely close. It's just I'm not ready to make the deal right now. And that's it. That's all you have to say. Some dealers might be kind of annoyed if they spent what they thought was a long time working on it. And it's like, they might get a little, I thought we were close or whatever like that, but who cares? Like, you're not comfortable with it. It doesn't matter. As long as you do it respectfully, you just leave. There's nothing forcing you to stay at that table or with that person. Nothing.
Yeah. The last one I wanted to add, we haven't touched on it, is sort of like this mindset that we're all here to be security for each other. So
Yes.
like, not only am I looking out for my own stuff, but I'm also cognizant of things that you might have or some of my other friends might have, and keeping an eye on it. Like, there's an instance where I had pulled out some like fairly large LeBron cards. We're kind of spreading them out, looking on the table, and a friend of ours, a mutual friend, the auto was facing up, and that autos in light is bad. So what he does, he sees me, he sees that I'm getting a little bit anxious, that my cards have been out too long, and he's closer to him. So he turns the card over so the auto's not in the light, and slides it over more towards me. So it's like, okay, now he's recognizing as a friend, this is getting a little too spread out. I can see he's not enjoying this. So like, as a unit, if there's 10 of us in a circle doing this type of thing where we're making sure we all have what we have, properly organized, the right people have the cards that they're supposed to have, it just vastly reduces the risk in the theft area. So whatever you can do to help out as friends as well, I think is important.
Yep, it's a great one.
Okay, last but not least, and this is probably the most popular topic because of everything that's been going on in the grading world. Grading. The grading companies will be on site, I believe, all of them, right? I think SGC, PSA, and BGS will all be there. And they're gonna be taking orders. And I think I'm not gonna speak for all of them, but I think they're all going to be grading on site, right? Is that correct?
I know. Yeah, I didn't check SGC because, of course, but I know BGS and PSA. This will be their first time doing on-site grading since the pandemic. So,
but there's going to be some pretty massive differences this year. Obviously, the prices are a lot higher. We were trying to figure out if they were going to have some of the lower tiered items. But because the show is a short window of time, usually if you want to grade and get it back before you leave, you're going to be at the higher tiers and things are going to be expensive. But even more so this year, because like the
Yep.
floor of prices is much higher than 2 years ago. So what can we expect on the grading side?
Oh boy, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, in terms of this year, I have no earthly idea. I know that's not helpful to anybody. I mean, in years past, the way that it's worked is, and I think it'll still follow this same kind of basic format. It's just a lot of the details will be different. But again, so we kind of alluded to it at the beginning of the show, but when things open up on Tuesday, all the dealers can come in and set up if they signed up for early dealer setup. BGS and PSA are not open technically. Cards will still be submitted to these companies. That's not to say that they will be graded, but in years past, cards have gone in as early as Tuesday. And a lot of cards have gone in as early as Tuesday because these are folks who are either group subbers, they're dealers who are doing it, for their local customers or whatever the case might be. So cards start, even though general admission doesn't open until Wednesday at 4, cards start going in earlier than that. Just again, regardless of the specific date, cards go in earlier than general admission for these on-site reviews. I'm trying to remember if did Beckett start grading on Wednesday in 2019? I feel like they had to have, right?
Uh, yeah, they
I
definitely did.
can't remember specifics, but if to the letter of the law, when the doors open for sneak peek on Wednesday at 3:30 for the VIPs, I would assume the biggest first wave, the first marching running of the bulls will be right back to BGS and PSA and SGC. And again, these will be people who have hundreds of cards to submit. Well, it'll be everybody. It'll be people who are there early specifically to grade, and they got like 5 or 6 items that they just want to push through in person, and they're going to use this as their opportunity to get it done. But there will be a lot of cards that go in for submission in the middle part of the week. So what does that mean? If you are coming in years past, if you are coming in on a Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, and you put a card in, the return service, and again, this is me speaking solely on BGS because they used to have the raw card review, which was the cheapest and fastest, so to speak, way to get it done. If you put stuff in with Beckett on Thursday, by Thursday afternoon, they were often telling people that you would get it back with no special service, like Saturday by end of day, maybe Sunday by closed. By Friday afternoon, BGS is usually they're completely shut off for the rest of the show. Unless you're willing to pay the upper tier of the grading fee to have it done in like an hour or 2 hours to basically get to the head of the line, you cannot put cards through on their standard raw card review service and expect to get them back by the end of the show. They will ship them back to you, but you will not be able to get them back by the end of the show. So that's just a long-winded way of saying that there are waves and waves and waves and waves and waves of cards that traditionally have come in early in the midweek. And what that does is it jams everything up from the get-go. And if you are coming in specifically for the weekend and your main goal is to grade cards, you need to understand that in years past, those cards would likely not be returned to you by Sunday. This year, as we all know, BGS and PSA haven't really been taking cards the past several months. They have been working through their massive backlogs. To PSA's credit, it sounds like they're pretty much caught up. To BGS's credit, they recognize that they had to follow suit, and they also need to work through that backlog. And in their press release, when they shut things down, they specifically said so they could get ready for the national. So that's good. That's a good thing. So in theory, both companies will be ready to go by the time the national starts. However, we know that not being able to grade cards for, when did PSA shut down? March, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So PSA has been in March, April, May, June, July, 5 months. BGS will be 3 months. That's 3 months of backlog that everybody is just sitting on and waiting to push through. And this will be the first opportunity to push that stuff through. So there's going to be a lot of cards. There's going to be a lot of cards that go into grading. I would imagine that we will see a situation that is no different than prior years. The main difference will be that it will be a lot more expensive. A lot more expensive. I think there's been some rumored pricing sheets. There's been some screenshots of, I don't know, tweets or internal things or whatever. You and I both Googled last night or earlier this week, and we were not able to find the actual national pricing sheets for BGS or PSA. SGC might have announced it. I don't know. I don't care. But we still don't know how much it's going to cost. In the past, raw card for Beckett has started, and raw card review is, sorry, to back up, they put it in the plastic sleeve, they put it in the Card Saver 1, they review it in the Card Saver 1, and they assign it a numeric sticker grade that they hand back to you, and they will slab for you on site and guarantee that grade if you choose to slab it on site. But as soon as you take your raw card review cards away from that BGS table, walk back to your booth, they no longer guarantee the grade that's on that raw card review. Just so everybody knows that. So like if it got a 9.5 at the National, and then 2 weeks later, your local card shop has got a sub going into BGS, and you're like, you know what, I want to get these slabbed. Per BGS's policy, there is a chance that 9.5 might get bumped. Up or down, who knows? But it happens a lot where people have cards slabbed or in the 9.5 raw card review holders, and they come back a different grade. So just thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, so the raw card review used to cost, I don't know, it typically started out like $15 earlier in the week, and then it would tick up as they got busier and busier. And then, like I said, by Friday afternoon, I think they would accept the cards for raw card review at the highest raw card review price, but they just cut off that you're not getting these back by the end of the show. But they also had like a front of the line option that I think at its most expensive was, I raw card something in a 1 hour raw card review on Friday in Cleveland. I think it was $100. And then by Saturday, I know people were paying like $250 for a 1 hour review, a raw card review. That's not to get it slapped, just for raw card. So, it's a lot of words to say that it's going to be a lot more expensive. I mean, there's no getting around it. It's going to be more expensive this year. I think people need to be ready for that. And you need to be ready for, if you're coming later in the week, that the turnaround times will increase greatly, so much that you might not get your stuff back by the end of the show before you leave.
Yep. I would plan for the worst case scenario, which means I would expect to pay a lot of money, and I would expect to pay for VIP on Wednesday. And that'd be the only chance I have to even grade my high-end stuff, let alone my stuff that's been backlogged for 3 months. So just have the expectation. If you're pleasantly surprised, that would be great. But I would be planning for worst case scenario with the grading stuff.
And this is one more thing too, and you just hinted at it, but again, in your preparation for the show, this is something you can add into your analysis or your assessment. Like, okay, I know that I would like to push some cards through on grading. I've got maybe 10 high-end cards. 5 of them are raw. Of these 5, do I think it would be worth it to push them through? And you can make up whatever you think the cost might be, but you can just factor that into your decision-making process to help you kind of navigate the show overall. And that way you won't be kicking yourself and be like, oh Christ, I forgot about the stuff that I wanted to grade, and you've been there since Wednesday and you remembered on Friday or something like that. And now it's $250 a card. So again, this is just another cheap promo for like making some sort of inventory list. Start thinking about this stuff now. Don't do it like, oh, I'll do it when I get to the hotel. No, just don't. That's not a good idea. Don't do that.
Well, that's pretty much the summation of the show for me is expectation and reality, and then pre-planning weeks before starting. That's why we were releasing this video now. Nationals over a month away, but we wanted this video to get out now because you need plenty of time to start planning, because some of the stuff we're talking about, you should be doing it like now, in my opinion. You should
and there's going to be a ton of national content, and there's going to be there's going to be a lot of overlap. Like I know you guys with Card Letter and the crossover are doing stuff. Like I'm talking with Jake, 90s b-ball cards later tonight, and Ryan and Chris, and there's just going to be why are you smirking? There's going to be all sorts of different national content that will be out there for you to consume and review and eat it up. A lot of it'll be repetitive, but a lot of it'll also be people like sharing their own personal experiences, and you will always learn something by watching that stuff. I guarantee it. Like I can't keep up with all of it, but I definitely always, I try and watch you guys on the crossover whenever I can. Like Ryan Card Collector 2, the videos and vlogs that he puts out for all of his national stuff are fantastic. He has a wealth of experience and knowledge from doing this for several years as an attendee, not necessarily as a dealer. So like he knows how this works, and there's so many guys that know how it works too. So when you see national content, like Josh said, if you're going for a walk or driving to work and need something to listen to, just listen to 15 minutes of it, 20 minutes of it, and just try and find something to pull, because the more that you know and the more that you can prep beforehand, the better your show experience is going to be. And I guess my last point that I'll end on, and that I know we've ended on before, is that please don't be afraid to ask for help. Like I've already had people DMing me on Instagram, just like asking about, what hotels to stay at, like how does we were talking about earlier with like, what do I do with my cards when I'm flying? Like, should I check them? Stuff like that. Those are not dumb questions. Those are very, very good questions. So, we try to cover as much as we can in the video, but if you still need help or have questions, or if you only listen to 10 minutes of this, what are we on, like minute 110 now, episode, then just ask. Like we're more than happy to help. It's usually stuff that we've dealt with before. If we haven't dealt with it before, if I haven't dealt with it before, like I'll try and find out for you. I'll try and point you to somebody who might be able to help out or whatever. Just please don't be afraid to ask for help, because it's, like we said from the get-go, it's intimidating as hell every single year that I go for some amount of time when I first get on the showroom floor. But just know that like hour 2 will be more comfortable than hour 1, and hour 4 will be more comfortable than hour 2, and day 2 you'll be more comfortable than day 1. So it's a lot to take in. It's sensory overload every damn day. There's always people screaming, yelling, hollering, hooting, filming, doing all sorts of stuff that you're going to be weirded out, confused by, but it's a blast. It's so much fun. And if our enthusiasm for the show, well, maybe my enthusiasm, since Josh, you're never enthusiastic about anything except after you've had some seltzers. If that hasn't come through on this video, like it should, because we are so excited. We've been talking about like the what ifs since last September, October of is this going to happen? We've all been watching like vaccination rates in Illinois and Chicago, and it's like, are we in the bridge 5 phase? Or are we in phase 4?
We all know way too much about it.
It's like we're all trying to pretend doctor here and make sure that we're going to be able to do this because we love this and enjoy it so much. So it's fun. It's so much fun. It's a blast. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And if you can make it, even if it's just for a day, do it.
Yep. All right, man. Well, you wrapped it up. So if anyone wants to message us, we can find Justin at 610 Sports Cards on Instagram, and myself, obviously, cardboard_Chronicles. Message us, like Justin said. Thanks, man. This was great. This was meant to be the all-encompassing, every single detail that we can provide about National. It was intentionally very long because we wanted to get to everything, and I hope we did that for everybody. So if you have any questions, again, reach out to us. Thanks for your time today, man. Hope it was good.
Thanks, buddy. Can't wait to see you in a month.
Yes, sir.